Welcome to Workopolis TV. I'm Kim Parley. A recent survey shows that 43% of employees think that their companies don't deal with poor performers, and that the hidden cost to companies is that your good workers will get fed up and leave. Here to tell us a little more on why managers need to weed out the bad to keep the good is Tim Rutledge. He's a partner with retention practices at IQ Partners and the author of Getting Engaged, the new workplace loyalty. There you can see it on the screen. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Tell me about the importance of weeding out bad workers. What's the effect on the workplace?
Well, organizations have one of two reputations among their employees as far as dealing with poor performers goes. One reputation is that they do deal with good performers, and that sends a very powerful message to the good people who remain, and that is that, hey, you know what, performance matters around here, and rewards and recognition will be tailored to that. The other reputation you can have, of course, is that you don't deal with it, and that sends an equally powerful message, namely, hey, performance doesn't really matter around here. And it doesn't matter what your performance is, rewards will be pretty much the same.
I was actually going through some research, and I was reading that one consultant said ignoring poor performance at an organization is the same as applauding it.
That's a really good way of putting it. And another way I've heard is that we need to redefine the word fair and not so much treating everybody the same, but making people that making sure good performers and not so good performers are treated differently.
Now, Tim, you work with a number of companies. I'm sure you've dealt with companies in terms of how to deal with this issue. Can you give us some stories in terms of how companies have dealt with it, or what some of the problems have been?
One real problem, especially for inexperienced supervisors, people who are new to the role, is that they make the mistake of making friends with the people who report to them. They may have been working side by side with them last week, and then they got promoted to be supervisor, and they try to be friends. Friendly behavior is great, but we have to remember it's a professional relationship, not a personal one. And so if you're having coffee with the same people all the time and having lunch with the same people all the time, even going shopping with the same people, and they report directly to you, what you've done is you've created a kind of an inner circle and an outer circle. And the people who report to you and know they're on the outer circle also know that organizational rewards are probably not going to come their way. So the performances of brand new supervisors need to be managed carefully by their managers, especially around that issue of what constitutes being a friend versus what's professional but friendly behavior.
If one of those friends is one of these poor performers, often, I mean, you'll find in an organization that everybody will know that this one person's a poor performer, but maybe the boss doesn't know. I mean, how does performance get managed? I mean, how does one define poor performance? Because perhaps the coworkers aren't accurate in what they're seeing. I mean, you know, that might be one possibility. Maybe they're doing something else with the boss that the other people aren't aware of.
It's possible, but I think what's even more probable is that the supervisor will be aware that there's a performance issue. But if they've decided they're going to be friends with this particular individual, they've essentially tied their supervisory hands. They should also not fool themselves into believing that they're the only ones who know that there's a performance issue. Believe me, if they know, everybody knows.
How should companies evaluate employees? How should they do it so that poor performance gets weeded out and it doesn't demotivate everybody else that's around them?
We've known for some time that there need to be performance objectives, solid performance results-based objectives set at a particular time during the performance year. And then the responsibility of the manager or the supervisor is to manage the performance of those people around those objectives and around little or nothing else, and not allow extraneous concerns to creep in, things that I call weeds in the garden. That come in and start gobbling up resources.
And what are those weeds? Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
The friendship thing would be one of those examples. The phenomenon of recency, what have you done for me lately, rather than what have you done over the past, say, 6 or 12-month period. Those would be examples of weeds.
I would think in a tighter labor market right now that this problem might even be getting worse because you're so desperate to get people that perhaps you'll put up with people you wouldn't normally put up with.
You're absolutely right. As we move from what I call a buyer's market in jobs, which is to say there's more job seekers than there are jobs. We're well now into a seller's market in jobs. And that is to say there are fewer job seekers than there are jobs. That means that good performers have the pick of all kinds of opportunities in ways that they haven't before. And it puts a real premium on skilled supervision in order to sort of build protective walls around the good performers so they don't get poached away, because they're the people that the headhunters will call.